Welcome back everyone to the channel. Gordon Chesapeake here. Good to see you all. So in the previous video we talked about how we can communicate with the backend API that we had using FastAPI and kind of running all the AI related stuff in the backend and communicate with that through our React Native application. We were working with this web scraper that we had in the Python code and kind of asking question on the front end chatbot here and then getting answered from the back end. What we did then was to just get all the response and then display it to the user all in its entirety. But in this video we're going to actually talk more about streaming the response back from our Python backend to our React Native frontend. So I'm just gonna do a quick demo for this. The question that we're gonna be asking is about some Hugging Face GPT, Hugging GPT stuff. That's basically over here in this web page that we have. And so how does Hugging GPT work? Explain the 4 steps in detail. This is the original version that we had, with just giving us the entire response at once, and then we displayed on the front end to the user. Now that didn't really take that much time. The response was just a few lines, and so it was fine. You could still go with just getting the whole thing back from your backend and display it at once. But if you're working with you're expecting a long text to be returned to your users, maybe a better way is to stream it back. Now I'm gonna ask the same question again, but this time I have streaming in place, and we're gonna see how that works. The only thing that you really want to pay attention to is that is it worth it to do streaming, because streaming might take a little bit longer to process in the backend and then send the text to you. And so kind of do your own due diligence there. Make sure that the way that you pick to go is actually the best way and provides better user experience for your user. So obviously during the whole process we're gonna show a loading indicator here so the user knows what's happening, but if it takes longer to get the streaming response back, then probably you go with the other, just showing the whole response at once. But I'm showing you how you can do this. That decision is totally up to you which route you want to go. So I have the exact same question. I'm gonna send it, and then it's going to start giving me the response, basically chunk by chunk or word by word, and that's how it worked. You saw that it was streaming to me, and then you can see that I have the entire message over here once it's streamed. So we're gonna talk about this, and without further ado, let's get started. So as before, the Python code, the backend code with the AI stuff, it's not really the focus of this video, but I'm going to just walk you through some of the most important pieces in the backend, how we are going from just sending the whole thing back to the front end to basically just sending chunk by chunk and token by token to the front end, so we can stream things on the user side as well. So this was the state of the backend code at the end of the last video, and so we were just invoking this chain that we had here, and that was taking care of the whole thing for us. With the new streaming process, we are going to make some changes to that. So what happens is that once we hit this endpoint chatbot with our post request, we send the question over here, then we're gonna call this function generate chunks, and then the result that we get there, we're going to scream that using this streaming response from FastAPI responses library to our user, to the front end. And you can see this media type of event stream that we need to add there as well, and that's what we're returning. About this generate chunks function that we have here, so we are introducing some async iterator callback handler here for our LLM, for the chat OpenAI that we had. Like I said, I'm not gonna go into details. Important things here is that we are setting the streaming to true, and then the rest is mostly the same. We have added this callback here that we have defined over here. We're still hitting that web page, kind of like scraping data, and then text splitter, vector store, all these things are similar to what we did before. And then we still have the same chain over here. The only difference is that now our LLM is different. So we are doing like streaming and also with the callback. And now we're going to define this task over here, which is going to invoke our RAG chain from here in an asynchronous manner. So it's going to be an async invoke. And then I have added this index because I'm printing out stuff. So as the tokens or chunks are being streamed, we can see them in this terminal over here. And then we have this try block over here, and then we're gonna go through the like the async iteration that we do on the callback and get the tokens, and yielding those tokens, basically sending that to our front end. And once we get the done and we're done with everything, then this is gonna stop, and then that's mainly what we are doing to make it stream the results to the front end. That's the streaming part in the back end. So again, this was not the focus of this video, but you will have access to the code. I'll put the link to this GitHub repo and you can go check that out. But the focus is going to be on the front end side, and that's what we're going to look at now. Alright, so I have my backend code over here, the Python code, and then front end React Native on the left side. And the reason I'm doing this here is because I am printing out the tokens as they're being sent back to the front end over here. I'm just trying to keep count of the numbers, the number of tokens being sent over the token itself, and I'm also adding like a the time that's being sent over. Just I'm gonna do some checks at the end to make sure that the process is working fine, and we'll get to that later. But right now let's go back to our front-end code, React Native, and here when we have the handle submit function, which is what is called after we hit the send button, we're sending this fetch request to our backend, this post request, and now this response is going to be different because we are streaming back, and the format is going to be totally different. So this whole thing over here, we're going to have to get rid of it. And then the next thing we're going to do is this fetch function actually will need to have a new parameter over here. It has to be this React Native, and text streaming is true, so that it knows that we're going to be streaming text back, and then it will have the proper format for the response. But right now, as you see, TypeScript is complaining about this, like the type request in it does not have this React Native property. So we're gonna have to assign our own kind of like type or interface to this whole callback over here for the fetch. And then what we will do is just define this new interface custom request in it, which extends the request in it, and then we're adding that React Native property with text streaming of Boolean. So with that, we're not gonna have that complaint, that TypeScript complaining anymore. And now the format that we get the response, we can get the streamed value through this response.body. And we're gonna just save the state of the code right now and see what we get back from stream. Just console logging that over here. So I'm just gonna use the same question, which is from this web page that we are scraping in the backend. So how does Hugging GPT work? I'm gonna send it. It's processing. You can see in the backend we got the message that was sent, and then one by one, token by token, it's being sent back. And we have like 82 or 83 of these tokens that are getting sent back. So as you can see, these are like text with the timeline that it was being sent back. But what we see on this side is that the console log that we had for a stream is actually undefined, and this doesn't mean that like the response kind of like doesn't have the body property on it. This is just a React Native shortcoming, or whatever you want to call it. We basically have to add a polyfill to get rid of this kind of like this thing not working. And for that, there is this React Native polyfill globals that we can use this package, and they have a lot of explanation on different things here. What's the idea, motivation behind it? As you can see here, readable streams is one of them. Response body is not implemented, so exactly why we need to add this. And so what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna grab npm install library name, and I'm going to do that over here in a new terminal. So npm install React Native polyfill globals, and then once I do that, you could have done npx expo install as well, and then I can close this other terminal. The only thing that we need to do is actually going back to this website, the usage section. We are going to polyfill all automatically. So I'm going to grab this over here, and we can add it to our layout.tsx. That is basically the layout for our tabs navigation over here, since we are using Expo router. And again, if you don't know what this structure is, I put links to the previous videos that I did, and you can take a look how we set up the whole thing. So in this layout.tsx file, at the very top, we can add that import that we copied from over here, and then we can save this. And if we do the same question again, how does Hugging GPT work, and paste it. I'm gonna clear this terminal over here and send it back, and hopefully now this stream has to show something over here. So yes, now we do have this stream showing stuff, but obviously we have more to do, and we need to basically grab all these things that are being streamed over and display them on the screen. Okay, so now that we have the response body stored in our stream variable here, and you can see this is basically a readable stream, we are going to just use the getReader function on this method, on this readable stream, and then basically we'll have we'll be reading this the content of this stream. I'm going to paste a little bit of code here, and I'll explain to you what this is right now. So we're gonna read through that stream, readable stream or whatever it was, and then and this is going through a self-calling function. So we're going to do this because we want to get all the chunks or tokens that are being sent over, and this is where inside this reader.read function, the callback that we have here, we are going to kind of like take care of all the processing of whatever we receive and then display it on the screen. But right now I'm actually going to just print out the result that we get here, and since this is like a self-calling kind of loop, I'm going to only grab like the first 90 results that we get, because as we saw before, we had like 85 or 86 tokens being sent back, and so we expect by the read number 90 we already have everything sent back. And then we look at the console over here, terminal, to see what is being logged for us. So let's do that. I'm going to ask the same question again. How does Hugging GPT work? We send it over, we see it being printed out in the backend, and then as this is being printed over here, you'll see that this the response that we were sending back, this also gets, this result gets printed here. Keep in mind that it is still running. Well, it's not running because we returned it. If we didn't have this return, it would be like a loop, and then you probably had to like stop your server or something to stop that. And so you can see here that we have all these objects done, which is a false value for most of it. At some point it becomes true, so that is probably our clue to know that everything has been sent over, and once our result done is equal to true, then we stop this whole thing. We do the return in that. And so that's first thing. The second thing is that the result.value over here, this is just, as you can see here, this is unit 8 array. So these are just numbers that are being sent over, and we need to decode these, and we're gonna use text decoder for this, so that we can actually convert it to convert these numbers, these arrays, to human readable text. So let's do that next. So firstly, we need to bring in a decoder. So we're gonna use this text decoder. That was the UTF-8 decoding that we're gonna use to kind of convert the array that we get to human readable string. And then what I'm going to do is for now get rid of this I, that counter basically, and I'm going to wrap this whole reader.read function that we had here into a promise, so I can set a resolve as resolve once we go through all the tokens and chunks that we get from the backend. So as you can see here, I have this streaming promise that I have moved the code that I had inside that, and as we saw, if the result is done, we're gonna set it as resolved, and then we return, and then we're gonna save the result.value that we get here, decode it, and save that as our tokens. This is going to be human readable string, and then we can actually console log this as well, so that you can see what is inside each of these tokens, and then you can see that I'm calling that streaming promise over here. So I'm saving it, and again I'm just going to use the same question that we had over here, paste it, clear these over here and here, these terminals, and let's send it. I've sent the message over here, and see, as these are getting generated, we should see similar tokens are also being generated here. So we can see that streaming is happening. So we have like H, Hugging, GPT works by using, and so everything is being sent over as expected. So this token is what we need to actually use to display our message onto this screen. So I know we currently have this state that we are using to keep track of our conversation, but this is for like the whole conversation. Since we are streaming a message one by one, then we actually need to have a single state for that specific we call it last message that we get from the backend. So I'm going to define this message, and this is just going to be the string, the text that we get. And then all we need to do at this point is to add these tokens to that state. So I'm going to set this last message. We're adding this token to the value that it was previously. So it kind of like accumulates the tokens, and the whole message will be like shown as the tokens come through. Now we do need to also show this at the end of our like this messaging area over here. So for that, I'm going to add the last message over here. So right below where we have our conversation stuff happening, I can actually go ahead and add this last message. If it's not equal to empty string, basically we have something that's coming through from the backend. I want to show that in the UI over here, and that's just simple. Just we have a chat kind of like bot icon, and then we have this background of I believe maybe like this gray background area with the text coming through that will be displayed. That's where we show the last message as it comes through. The tokens are gonna come through, and they're gonna create basically form this last message. So let's do this again. I'm going to ask the same question. And then let's look over here. You're gonna see again the tokens being printed out, but at the same time you saw that the whole thing was also streamed over here and displayed to the user. Now if we continue our conversation, this will go away because we are not adding this last message to our conversation, which is being kept track of by this conversation state that we have, conversation. So in order to fix that, I'm going to also add the final message, the accumulated tokens, the value that we have to the last to the conversation state that we have. So I'm going to define a new variable over here to keep track of all the tokens coming through. So I'll call it accumulated message over here, and all I need to do is make sure that it includes all the tokens that are coming through. So again, right here, after I set the last message, I can add the token to that variable as well. And then once we are done, the results are, the tokens are completely streamed and displayed on this UI. We can add what we have received to our conversation state as well. And to do that, we're just gonna do some quick JavaScript stuff here. We know this is the AI message that's coming through, kind of cleaning up the message. If there is anything, you can do more cleaning up as well depending on your case. So this is just a simple rag looking at a website. For a case that I was doing with using kind of like rag with my own data that were stored on like MongoDB, at last I had to go through more cleanup process. So I'm just bringing these things over here. You might want to also trim the start. There may be some unwanted double quotes and things like that that you might want to remove from the beginning or end of your tokens that are coming through. So just for your future reference, you may need some cleaning up before you display the whole thing over here. And so with that, I think everything should be fine. And what happens here is that once the last message is done streaming, like the streaming is done and we have set this last message, we also want to set it back to a empty string, because we don't want to have that last message displayed twice, because it is going to be added to our conversation here. And also we are showing the last message as well here, which if it's not empty string, it's going to be displayed on the UI. So I'm going to actually, after this streaming promise is over, I'm going to set the message, that last message, to empty screen, and it will immediately be replaced with the message that we added to the conversation here, which is basically the same message. Like I said, you might need to do some cleaning up just for that. You can see here, like, we don't have an empty line, so we might have an empty line when we add that to the whole conversation, when the thing is over here being the logic is being calculated over there. So with that, I think I can also move this one inside the try block over here, because we already have one for the catch. And then I save this, and that should be basically all that we need to do. I can again test it. Let me reload the app, and I'm going to add a little bit actually of similar printing or login over here on the React Native side as well, because I want to also make sure that the streaming is actually happening as these tokens are being generated and sent over. Because there might be a case that everything is like being streamed here, but on the front end we are still getting them as a full text, full response, and then during this process it kind of breaks them down into tokens again, and then shows it to the user, streams it back to the user. So we want to make sure that streaming is happening at the same time on the front end as the tokens are being generated in the backend, or with like a very, not exactly the same time, because there is a time that it takes to come over to the front end. But like, we want to make sure, for example, our first token that is being streamed over here is not coming after their last token, because that means then this is not really desired. So let me just add a little bit of line of console logs over here, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I added a new variable I over here, just kind of like this index over here. And then I'm also doing some getting like the hours, minutes, seconds, however you want to do it, it's fine. I'm just like doing some maybe not so pretty JavaScript over here to console log the the time that these tokens are being kind of like coming to my front end UI and being streamed on the front end to compare this against what I have in the back end. So I'll show you in a sec what that means. I'm going to send this same question again, and we should see the streaming happen on both sides. And so this is where the comparison happens. So my streaming on the front end was from like 3:33:41 all the way to 3:33:42 p.m. And this backend started 3:33:41 as well. So millisecond 605 started at 576. So we can see that the first token that we received on the front end actually was really very soon after it was generated on the back end, and the last token generated on the back end was at 3:33:42. So 3:33:42, like 295 milliseconds, and this is like 303 milliseconds. So we can see that it was actually streaming as it was being generated on the back end and being streamed on the front end. It's not like it waited for a whole thing to end and then started streaming on the front end, which is not what we want. And what we want is what is actually happening over here. So I think that should cover everything that I wanted to show you guys. Hopefully this was helpful. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. I will be spending more time on doing a lot of other different kind of videos about React Native, and maybe include more AI stuff as well. So please subscribe to the channel and turn the notification bell on, so that you're notified as soon as I upload videos. All right, see you later.